The PHNX Cardinals pregame show one last time here for 2024-2025 NFL season. This is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. It's PHNX Cardinals. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always on a game day. Our guy Brittan Golden, former Arizona Cardinal wide receiver. Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire behind the mic. And of course, our guy, my dear friend, co-host Brack at State Farm Stadium. Just a couple minutes. We've got some news to share atop this show involving Drew Petzing. But speaking of this show, it is presented by our friends at Sanderson Ford and at Gila River Resorts, both staples here in the Valley. Of course, check out Sanderson Ford, their Glendale location. And of course, big thanks to everybody at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass, side of our watch parties this year, where we watch the Arizona Cardinals lose aplenty on the road in 2024. And before we jump in, everybody, welcome in the chat. Drop a like on this video. Do you like this? According to this show and this host, Drew Petzing is expected back in 2025. Let me repeat that. Arizona Cardinal offensive coordinator, despite criticism, despite unevenness, Brittan Golden, with the passing game, the Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon, I'm told, are expected to roll with Drew Petzing in 2025. Your reaction to that?
It's not surprising. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably not happy about it, but you can't say that it comes as a surprise that he's going to be back, just given how much of the season has gone through and, you know, no action was taken in that regard anyway. You're not going to do it at this point. So, you know, it is what it is. You got to live with it. You just got to hope that there's a better cohesiveness as we get into next season.
Yeah, it's frustrating because I do feel like the Cardinals passing game really set the team back this year. You know, it's a big reason why the team did not get to the playoffs. I mean, we're sitting here and they have a chance to go 8-9. We're going to talk about the game today. But, I mean, the passing game was the kind of what did he call it? The smoking gun for 2024's underachieving Arizona Cardinal, club as a whole. And, Drew Petzing, he can scheme up a run game as well as anybody. They're number one in explosive runs. And, they do a nice job protecting the quarterback for the most part. And I think if you're Jonathan Gannon, you're going to lean on that in the offseason with the sense that, okay, Drew, find the last missing piece of the puzzle. Gannon does not want to become one of these coaches or ex-head coaches that run through offensive coordinators. They want consistency. They want continuity. Now, I still expect them to make changes to the staff on both sides of the ball, maybe make some tweaks at position, coaches and whatever Gannon deems to do there, we will support him. But the offensive coordinator role for Drew Petzing, it's going to be the last dance with he and Kyler Murray. I think you're going to look at 2025, and that's going to be really the theme of the offseason. Can the two kind of put it together for a complete, 2025 and get this team to the postseason? Because here's what you couldn't do. You couldn't welcome K1 back on, a prove-it year with a new offensive coordinator, make that person a lame duck, right? And then have Gannon's, situation questioned or his job security. And Kyler Murray likes Drew Petzing. They like what they've built together. They feel like they're close. And I think, Brittan, you weren't with us on last week's broadcast. They played well through the air. That was maybe their best passing game of the year against the Los Angeles Rams. They just don't score enough passing touchdowns. And that has to be the priority this offseason.
Oh, I agree. I mean, honestly, your pass game has, like you said, has been the problem all season long. You haven't been able to push the ball downfield. And even your underneath throws, there's not even really medium throws. It's all kind of check down, under 10-yard throws that you're just hoping somebody makes it. So, I mean, it's going to come down to next season, right? It's the same two. You got the same offensive coordinator. You got the same quarterback. Next season, if you can't prove it, and like I said this before earlier, in the year, like you've probably got 3 to 5 games next season to prove that this is the right quarterback. This is the right offensive coordinator. We can make this work. If you can't do that in the first 5 games next season, quarterback's probably gone. OC's probably gone.
Yeah, I think they'll add a quarterback to this group, and we'll talk about it throughout the duration of the offseason. And I think if you're Jonathan Gannon, while you can't come out and say this publicly, you got to have somebody on the roster next year that you could pivot to in season to call plays. If this isn't working with this passing game, and hopefully it doesn't come to that. And Drew Petzing, Kyler Murray, I don't know if they can quiet the noise today, but it's you could have some cotton candy calories for the Arizona Cardinals against a beat-up San Francisco team. And I expect them to try to accomplish that today. Speaking of today, looking at the inactives, much to do about nothing, sans one key name on here. Part of the program, Michael Wilson, friend of the program, number 14, he is out today. He misses time really for the first time this season. I would imagine it's being reported, I think, as a calf, precautionary. I think a lot of us expected him to play, even though I think he was on the injury report. He was earlier this week. But you think about the finale, you have Trey McBride, you have MHJ. Of course, somebody like Zay Jones, Greg Dortch can fill in. I would look at this, Brittan, you tell me your opinion, because you've been in NFL locker rooms. This is probably the team protecting its asset moving into next year.
It could be. I mean, we don't really know the extent of the injury and, how serious or what it is. But, I mean, at the end of the day, let's not let this, compound into something bigger.
Yeah.
Something that he has to work the entire offseason to be able to get ready to show up for OTAs. You would rather it be something where when the season's over after today, it takes him, 2 to 3 weeks, a month at most. He's back healthy. He's good where he needs to be. So whenever he starts back doing his, weight program and training program, getting ready, that he's full go. He doesn't have to miss, doesn't have to miss time and then try to make it up once he gets to OTA.
We talked about it to kick off the show with Drew Petzing expected back. I think one of the unfortunate casualties of this passing game not being where it needed to be was I thought Michael Wilson deserved more targets this year.
Agreed.
I think he was one of the best, if not the best pass catcher on this team, sans Trey McBride. And you look at his numbers, very comparable to his rookie year. But I think, listen, he's somebody that once this passing game gets unlocked, whether it's with the same people or new people, Michael Wilson's going to be a benefactor of that. So if it means he's locked and loaded and healthy for 2025, we support that.
No, I agree. I mean, we've said it, previous weeks as well. I thought, with the struggles that Marvin had this season, catching the football, getting open, I feel like, Michael Wilson deserved a few more targets, at least target-wise. We didn't really see him. But, again, that goes back to, how abysmal the passing game has been all season long. So, right, I think this is a time this offseason where you got to try to start, reevaluating who you're going to try to force feed the ball to. Obviously, Trey McBride is your number one target. But, I mean, I think next season it's more of can we, try to diversify the, the pass game instead of trying to force it to our 4th round pick and then trying to, when you're down and out, then you're trying to force it to Trey McBride, right? And find ways to get all these other guys involved. I think Michael Wilson, with the targets he was given this year, has performed and done well. He's made the catches, the tough catches. We've seen a couple really tough catches that he's made this season. So, I thought that he should have had more targets earlier, in the season. And, we just didn't see it. But at the same time, we didn't see much of anything from the offense in the passing game. So.
No. Kyler Murray should have enough to work with today, and we're going to talk about today's game. Before we do that, I want to remind everybody, check out our friends at Sanderson Ford. Drop a like on this video. They've got a 65-acre facility, making it the largest Ford dealership in the nation. Sanderson Ford, committed to customer satisfaction, committed to hooking you up with the vehicle, with the truck of your dreams. Speaking of trucks, right now, 2024 F-150 trucks, 3.9 APR financing for 66 months. Plus, get hooked up with $4,000 cash back. They've got similar savings on over 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot. Again, big thanks. They're family-owned and operated through 3 generations, and they're a staple of the Valley, Glendale, Sanderson Ford. Love our friends there. Love our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Pour one out for cards watch parties at Wild Horse Pass, at least for this regular season. But big ups to our friends on PHNX Suns. And we know we've got watch parties in store. And again, even if you're not with us here at PHNX Sports, go check out one of their many locations, 4 locations. But of course, my favorite, our favorite, at Wild Horse Pass, 4,500 slots, live table games. Catch all the action at Arizona's largest sports book casinos. And again, we've got events throughout the course of the offseason, Cardinal-specific events, that we're excited to share with you in the future. And big shout out to those who won the game day experience that's taking place today. Play at Gila.com/Cardinals. Again, they gave away 2 tickets, on-field game experience. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for all the details. And again, get loaded up. You do you with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Big thanks to them. Big thanks to everybody watching. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Cardinals taking on Joshua Dobbs and the San Francisco 49ers, or what's left of them. We're going to talk about, is that a must-win for K1? But let's start with the opposing quarterback here on the Bird Gang Blitz. Don't doubt Dobbs, the Dobb father, the pastronaut, whatever you want to call him. We watched him come here and steady the waters at quarterback last year for the Cardinals. Competent to above average at times, beat the Dallas Cowboys. And the one thing that he does, Brittan Golden, that the Cardinals struggle with, he can move around. Cardinals struggle with Bryce Young. They struggle with Jordan Love and Jaden Daniels. I would expect Joshua Dobbs to empty the clip and run early and often today.
I agree. You kind of saw the old Dobbs last week. At the end of the game, came in and led him for that little touchdown drive. So, I mean, if you're the Cardinals here, defensively, front seven, pass rush wise, you've got to contain. You've got to keep containing. You cannot allow lanes, up and through the middle, because Josh Dobbs will take advantage of it, and he will quickly take advantage of it, and he can hurt you. And like you said, you've already had, very minimal success stopping mobile quarterbacks all season long. So don't give him a lane. Don't give him a chance.
Yeah, I know people dogged on him last year. I thought he did a nice job. He's got a plus arm. His inaccuracies are the area that you want to expose. And let's ask our co-hosts of PHNX Cardinals that very question. Bo Brack joining us from State Farm Stadium. How would you slow down the Dobb father if you're Nick Rollis and company today?
Just excited at another opportunity to watch Joshua Dobbs play football today, gentlemen. Woke up with that feeling. It's going to continue probably for the next 60 minutes. But look, I think the fear is very real. I don't think that we're just overplaying it. It's hyperbole. We've seen Joshua Dobbs be able to operate an offense and extend plays and make plays, especially with his legs. And what has plagued this defense throughout the season, as consistent as they've been, they've also inconsistently gone against guys that can get around and get outside the pocket and make plays outside of that. So yeah, I mean, we joke about it, we have fun with it, just because we know what he's capable of, and then we also know the reality of Joshua Dobbs leading an NFL offense. And you should be able to take advantage of it a couple times today, hopefully on the Cards' defensive side of the football.
George Kittle set to play. Your boy Damon Dawg out of U of A in Florida. What's his name?
Ricky Pearsall?
Sweet Ricky Pearsall played well last week.
ASU,
excuse me. And so they have Juwan Jennings. They have some targets. Does San Francisco? I think where you have some concern for Arizona is they can't contain mobile quarterbacks, Brittan Golden, because they just don't have the athletes on the edge.
You just don't. And you've got to be able, I mean, that's where, discipline comes into play, right? Keep and contain, staying in your gaps, not trying to do too much and get out of a gap and creating lanes for Josh Dobbs, because that's what's going to hurt you. But he's not lacking, right, in the playmaking department. We've seen Juwan Jennings make plays all season long for San Francisco. Ricky Pearsall's definitely gotten into the lineup lately and started to make plays, right? He's got his guy, George Kittle. He's been good for a long time. So, Dobbs has got playmakers around him. As the front seven for Arizona right now, you're going to have to find a way to just keep him in that pocket, make him uncomfortable. Dobbs would rather be out moving his legs and getting around. So if you can keep him in that pocket and make him uncomfortable, you can try to force a few turnovers, which we know it can happen. He will turn it over, but so does everybody else. So it's just all about creating havoc. If you can force ways to create havoc today defensively, then you should be in a good spot.
Bo, you and I were on this show a lot last year breaking down what Drew Petzing was doing for Joshua Dobbs, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. We kicked off the show with our report here on PHNX Cardinals that Drew Petzing is expected back as offensive coordinator, barring something unforeseen here in the finale, which I don't even think is possible. Your reaction to that and why you think Jonathan Gannon is inevitably opting to roll with the status quo with his coordinators?
I think he finds an advantage in continuity, right? As far as the consistency of preparing, the process for getting ready. And maybe the belief, it's got to be the belief, having conviction and that they're close offensively, right? Can Drew Petzing, just with more seasoning, more reps, more that rhythm and timing offense gets on schedule, and he doesn't feel like there's going to be an opportunity to upgrade. I mean, there's a lot of, I've maintained that there's been confidence, from the quarterback to the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And although the performance has not been there as far as from the offense putting up enough points to win football games here down the stretch, I don't think that confidence has waned enough to where they feel like they would need to make a change. So it makes sense to me. I think it's kind of been the consistent messaging of here. Like, if it was up to Johnny, if it was up to some of the fan base, the grass is greener on the other side. Where I think, and I don't mean that like a shot at you, Johnny. I mean, you've had conversations, but like, I think that no, I think that mostly from the fan base, like there's been want to move on, and it's not a shared sentiment from the head coach of the team. He remains confident in Drew Petzing.
I think to Drew's defense, that in the stretch run here, as things get raucous at State Farm Stadium in the press box, my goodness, I think that listen, at the end of the day, had Kyler Murray been playing well, but the offense still looks like this, then you can focus your anger and your blame at one person. I mean, Kyler Murray hasn't played well. And so I think that there's plenty of offensive blame to go around. And I think if you're Jonathan Gannon, do you want to be in the habit of making coaches scapegoats, especially for quarterbacks who are 27, who's making $50 million? Like, they all have to get into a room this offseason and figure out what's gone wrong. And speaking of what's gone wrong here, can they figure out a way to get Marvin Harrison Jr. a positive to end the season on, Bo? We had 96 yards last week. Everybody, I walk into the studio today, Damon's talking up Malik Neighbors. He's ready to fold the line here. And, tongue-in-cheek.
How dare you?
Tongue-in-cheek, if you will.
I told you that in private.
What do they need to do to have Marv, have a strong finale, in your opinion?
Well, I think our co-host, Brittan Golden, is way more well-versed to talk and speak on this, but a continuation of last week. Getting him more on crosses, finding him more unique ways to get him the football. What do you have? 10 targets last week, caught 6 of them, and got close to the century mark as far as receiving yards. He's got to have a very similar game, if not find, the end zone. I think absolutely you want to ride that Marv momentum in the offseason with a pair of, really rock-solid performances. I just like how they used him, BG, last week. And, Marv even told us at his locker this week, he ran a lot of different routes, and that comes with frustration, right? It's like, where has that been all season long? Why weren't they drawing it up for him? But look, you can't cry over spilt milk at this point, but you hope to see a continuation of that.
No, I agree. And I saw the clip with, Mina Kimes this week, and she was talking about, why we haven't seen him on routes, on crossing routes and stuff like that. And I 100% agree. When you got somebody that's struggling right now to get going, like crossing routes, especially, you've seen a lot of man coverage because nobody's really been scared of you beating them deep, right? That's where crossing routes is everything, right? Get him moving across the field with a guy behind him. Let him catch it with a little bit of space and move. Right? That's how you get guys going. That's how you get, that yak yards, finding ways to break tackles and get in and out. So, I mean, I thought he was used better than what we've seen all season long last week, and just finding ways to have him run different routes, get him across the field, moving around, just trying to get the ball in his hands. It's one of those things where, like you said, like, why did we wait till week 17 to try to do stuff like this, right? Like, you've seen the success. I mean, It took you 17 weeks to see success come out of it, but right at this point, I think you got to continue that progress and continue what you did last week with him. Find him, get it, crossing routes, mesh routes, stuff to go back and forth, create space. Right? If you can do stuff like that and then take it into next season and kind of, make that the norm, right? With everybody you have, right? You doing that with McBride, with Marv, with Michael Wilson, and finding all 3 of them just moving parts and pieces like that. Now you can start to create havoc. You can start to force, defenses to say, hey, we're going to sit back and play in zone, because if we keep playing in man, they're going to keep crossing us. We're going to get beat. That's where big plays kind of come out and happen. So, I'd love to see more of it this week. Just try, same with Kyler. Move Kyler around. Allow them to run crossing routes and get Kyler out of the pocket and force the issue in that aspect.
Marvin Harrison Jr. needs 178 receiving yards. Would be a big day, his biggest to date, to hit 1,000 for the year. Let's see if he does that, or breaks the rookie receiving touchdown mark with 8 on the season. Can he do that? Let's focus on his quarterback. Kyler Murray, can he clean it up? As an interception in every game sans New England post-bye. And Bo, I'll start with you. I mean, like, we're about to enter an off season of while we feel like Kyler Murray will be back. You know, the narrative is going to be loud. I think that there's a part of this fan base that have already kind of transitioned post Kyler Murray's tenure and feel like the team is just waiting for the inevitable pivot off of K1. Is there anything Kyler Murray can do today to quiet that noise, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think just another, have a solid performance, right? And I think it is overdue to limit the turnovers. And I'll leave it up to you guys as we go to the anthem here at the stadium. But yeah, I think a good performance would go a decent way for Kyler Murray tonight.
Yeah, Bo, I just feel like in Brittan, to me, his game on last Saturday ended so poorly with the fluke interception. But you watch that game for 4 quarters, he outplayed Matthew Stafford. And I thought, Stafford was the benefactor of having some dropped interceptions. He throws the ball so damn hard. Kyler Murray, like, can you build off of that big passing performance game? I mean, we were talking about before the show. Everybody on this show, on this podcast around the NFL was burying Bryce Young, said he couldn't play, had no business starting. And it's been about 6 weeks of really high-end play, and now people are all in for Bryce Young next year. I think for Kyler Murray, can you play turnover-free, right? We've seen this Cardinal team. They're not good enough yet to overcome turnovers. And can you have a couple splash plays? Can you get people excited? Because here's the one thing that Kyler Murray has done well, sans like maybe the Seattle and Washington game at home. He's been a really good home quarterback. And that will bode him well into 2025, where you win 80% of your home games. Can you make a couple of marginal improvements on the road? And then suddenly you're back in the playoff mix. I feel like Kyler Murray needs to leave people at State Farm Stadium today with the mindset of, it was a good game. Good game, Kyler Murray. Thanks for making it worth it. Thanks for sweeping San Francisco. I think that's important for him to accomplish.
Oh, it is. And a lot of it is just going to be cleaning up the turnovers for him. If he, you take away all these turnovers that he's had since the bye week, right? We're talking about probably in a different situation. I'm not going to say we win all those games, but you're in a different situation going forward. Now you're taking, you're giving yourself a better opportunity to win some of these games that you've lost. But today, I think it's got to be mistake-free. Clean the turnovers up, cut the interceptions out, hold on to the football. But also at the same time, I think Petzing has to do a good job of finding ways to let Kyler be Kyler.
Yep.
The things that got Kyler to where he is in the NFL at this point, right? In college, he was mobile. He was moving around. Get him out of the pocket. Let him create plays from there. If nothing's there, use your legs. I think this is a big game, right, where we talked about earlier with the receivers. Get these receivers on crossing and mesh routes, right? Get guys moving. Get him out of the pocket and allow him to attack the defense in multiple ways, not just have him trying to stand in the pocket. And then when it collapses, now he can't see anything, right? And now he's just kind of freaking out trying to get rid of it. Now it's one of those things where just let him be mobile, let him be him, right? But Kyler's got to minimize turnover. You got to take him out. Really, you can't have any today. If turning the football over doesn't give anybody any hope going into 2025. Today needs to be a mistake-free game out of Kyler. He needs to come out here. He needs to make the plays and make the throws and get the job done.
Getting the job done against San Francisco, albeit against a team that has lost players. They've lost their quarterback. I don't think we can downplay what sweeping San Francisco would mean for JG and company. It would be the first time since Cliff Bar did it in 2021. Niners are already in last place. They've secured last place. The Cardinals have secured third place. But I think after last year, Bo, 0-6 in the division, ending the year 500, 3-3. It's not the way you wanted to finish at 6-4 at the midpoint, but I just feel like 500 in the division and sweeping Kyle Shanahan has to mean something. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it doesn't carry the entire conversation and turn this into a no doubt about it win of a season, but it's one of those things you can turn and look at 2024 and say, hey, you swept a Niners team, you finished 500 in your division, you finished a game under 500 in year 2. There's a couple things that you can be proud of, even though, obviously there was the opportunity that you just missed out on.
Oh, I mean, ultimately today is just one of those, right? It's the game doesn't mean a whole lot in aspects of going, into next season, but at the same time it does with, from a fan perspective, right? You want to put your fans and your people out here saying, hey, We're going in 2025 with a little bit of hope.
Yep.
Just a little bit. You're not changing anything record-wise and, in the division, but it's a little bit of hope, right? You won more games than you were supposed to, but you kind of peed down your leg when it counted. So, just mistake-free football and win the game today.
Win the game with pieces that are going to be a part of this team next year, too. Like, I love Michael Carter Jr. Who knows if he's going to be on the roster? We know you can run the ball. Air it out. Let's see big days from Trey and MHJ, specifically for our boosted bet today with our friends at Bet365. It's time to tap that app one last time on a post-game or pregame show. Here are our pregame picks. Right now, you can get this boosted plus 400 to plus 450 with our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. Bonus code, of course, PHNX365 when you sign up. We're running it back from last week. Sands the money line. Cards money line plus Trey McBride over 60 and MHJ over 60. I feel like if you're the Arizona Cardinals, the passing game runs to these individuals. Marv, he's got an outside shot, a lofty one, to get to 1,000 yards. Trey McBride, Brittan Golden's, made his first Pro Bowl on the heels of a 1,000-yard season. What do you think of our boosted bet today?
I like it. I might have thrown, another McBride touchdown in there,
Sounds about
just
right.
to make it a little bit extra. But I mean, you've got to target him for touchdowns today, right? God, the man went 17 weeks without a receiving touchdown. Like, this is ridiculous. He needs, if you get in the red zone today, Trey McBride better be the first read on every touchdown pass thrown.
Everybody be sure to like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Bo Brock, final predictions today. Are you going still with a Cards dub?
Still going with the Cards, and I'll say that Good Omen just walked in. Larry Legend, Larry Fitzgerald just walked by this camera. Him and Andre Roberts, a couple great receivers for this team, along with Lil Dre in the building. So I think I like those Marvin Harrison Jr. receiving props. He's got to show up with Larry Legend here, watching him here at State Farm Stadium.
Bo will do his best to just pull him aside for our post-game show. Have Larry stick around a couple extra hours. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. But
just tell him I told him he's got to be on camera for at least 10 seconds. He'll be all right.
All right.
That feels like a good off-season project for this podcast here, the little fanboy project that could. Bo Brock, thank you for the time. We're going to see you on a post-game show. Big thanks to BG, myself, Damon, Dawg. We will be back for halftime following first half. Cardinals hoping to sweep San Francisco. Can they get it done? We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.